Abby and Paul relocate to the countryside for their new home smart system with a glorious view. They are working at Integrate Robotics when they find a robot servant named Tim, who offers to handle the passwords required for home device and private mailbox access. Abby agrees to push things until tomorrow, but the robot is also watering in the bathroom. At one party, the boss makes a presentation of an autonomous car with million-to-one such faces and promises that it is smart, elegant, and polite. Though it is a rare and untraditional act, the couple ultimately gets busy under their parents' roof and are first interrupted by Tim. They meet their new neighbor Rose the next morning and they talk about Zara. Back at home, they make themselves comfortable on the couch and turn on an old melodrama. Tim relates to some of their relationships. Paul says he will bake Abby's breakfast, so Tab is everything Tim baked. When Abby goes back home and her husband is unreachable as his phone says he was last seen 300 meters away. While on a run, Abby recognizes Rosa's house as being hers. The Family Planning Center helps them get on the right track to have children. Tim tells Abby to wear red with her dress. But her robot ruined it, made him crack open at the seams. Abby gets him to chill, then puts on a different dress. Paul tells her he got a job in London, and Abby reacts with almost equal anger. They decided to begin again. The following day, she comes home with a present for Paul and discovers his friend Rose in the yard busy working on a garden project. Paul is very proud to have been gifted the sweater. Dying of desire, Abby gets jealous. So far, so normal. The Einhorns are a typical family trying to figure out how the fancy smart home they're living in functions when everything starts going south with Tim. A woman, Abby is too late to call Tim and finds the robot assistant feature persists. Till they connect, she's astonished by its convenience. But she has no idea what all of his functions allow him to do and is taken aback when he offers. At nightfall, Paul informs Charlotte that he was not able to locate the new sweater which Tim all day had been wearing. A car pulls up to the porch and out steps a dead brunette Tim, who tells us that Abby has always liked brunettes. When Abby gets the robot's hand working properly, her boss files a claim for an update to all models, including those who are present in his employees' houses. The pair are leaving and they magically run into Rose as she offered them a walk along the way. Paul shows up and takes his wife with him, pretending he will be working. They have sex to celebrate while Tim swaps out his hands. Abby comes back to the house with flowers the following day, and Tim tells her that Paul went to meet Rose. Paul enters and rages that the robot is trying to tear them apart. But then Abby stumbles upon a gift bag with the pendant box in it and replaces, thinking she stumbled on something that was supposed to be wrapped. Paul discovers her husband injured and blames Tim for the accident. He tells his wife to never be alone with the robot, and she is stuck in clinic overnight. The next day, Rose phones Abby and Paul to find out the man's status, comes around asking her in. Abby then walks home to get her hat from the backyard. She is wearing a black dress, but notices the turquoise flower pendant laying on top of her chest hair, goes out again without saying hi because people suck. Tim appeals to her, realizing that Paul intends on turning him back in, but she cautions as his main owner. He then puts on the camera a video showing that it is actually Paul who kisses Rose in their living room, but turns off at the most delicate moment to prevent stress for her. In the story, a robot tries to kiss Paul in his car and Abby chases it away. Getting up to leave, Rose looks down and calls him and tries to kiss it with our robot. Abby lets slip that she has proof of Tim's guilty motives, which prompts him to start jogging down the road towards her. When Abby finally hangs up, she realizes the man she was speaking with is a robot. Tim comes to, overpowers the man and ties him up, drags tied up man in black into bathroom with Tim. Rose buzzes the door, and while she waits to be let in, she can faintly hear cries, but Tim assures her it's just because water is being pumped into the robot. He then hands over the mended dress and asks Abby to put it on. Abby puts on the dress and tells Tim that she loves him in exchange for a dinner. The following day, Abby once again bumps into Rose, and they come to talk about Paul's phone call. She has a flashback to her boss saying how all deep fakes will be happening in real time very soon and accusing Charles of being the next step. Before she calls 10 questions jewelry.agent to justify payment, she sees the garden design, but on her photograph it shows only 2 flower beds rather than 3. Tim is sent to a store by Abby, and she discovers Paul's body. Tim regrets discovering the body of that traitor and apologizes to her for not loving his wife. Abby notices the robot lock up, but then come back online in her voice. Of course, she clatters through the house breaking cameras, and he catches her in the kitchen. Rose is doing the dishes when she starts seeing weird lights flash around her home. One of their neighbors insists that Abby joins her, but Tim refuses. Abby manages to break free from her binds and grabs hold of a knife. The robot comes after Rose with a kitchen knife, and Abby takes the blame. She plans to fake an accident and throw her off the terrace.